person with blood.
Yat,
Which
Narada Angirovyam.
Narada Angirovyam.
By the great sages Narada and Angira.
By the great sages Narada and Angira.
Te unto you.
Unto you.
Yaritam spoken. Me of me. Anushashanam the worship. Samsiddha completely perfected. Asi you are. Taya by that. Rajan O king. Vidyaya mantra. Darshanat from the direct sight. Cha as well as me of me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, replied as follows: O King, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Narada and Angira, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. Because you are now educated in the spiritual science, you have seen me face to face. Therefore, you are now completely perfect. Please repeat. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev replied as follows.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev replied as follows.
O King,
As
a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me, by the great sages Narada and Angira, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. Because you are now educated in the spiritual science, you have seen me face to face. Therefore you are now completely perfect. The perfection of life is to be spiritually educated and to understand the existence of the Lord and how He creates, maintains and annihilates the cosmic manifestation. When one is perfect in knowledge, he can develop his love of Godhead through the association of such perfect persons as Narada and Angira and the members of their disciplic succession. Then one is able to see the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Although the Lord is unlimited, by His causeless mercy He becomes visible to the devotee, who is then able to see Him. In our present position of conditioned life, we cannot see or understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriya Sevan Mukhe Jivado Swayam Eva Spuratiyadaha. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-234. If one takes to spiritual life under the direction of Narada Muni or his representative and thus engages himself in the service of the Lord, he qualifies himself to see the Lord face to face. The Brahma Samhita 5:38 states, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sudaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who was always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundara, situated within the heart of the devotee. One must follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Thus one becomes qualified and later sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead as evinced by Maharaj Chitraketu. Omigyan Timaranda Syagananjana Shalaka Chakshush Unratamdina Tasmai Shri Gurudena Maha Shri Taitanamano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutava Swayam Bhutakadamayam Dadati Swaratanantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Kitchen? Mogadrick, you awake? No. Evinced by Maharaj Chitraketu. Funny word, I guess it means evidenced. Anybody has one of those Google search things, they can look up the literal meaning of evinced, evidenced. Maharaj Chitraketu is speaking to the Lord face to face. He's seeing the Lord face to face. He offered prayers to the Lord. He was cursed by Lord Shiva's wife. And coming to his senses, he properly worshipped Krishna in terms of the instructions he received from Narada and Angira. I'm just roughly putting together the story before the location we're at now. So we go through many different situations in order to bring us to the position of complete surrender, and then being able to access the knowledge that comes from the spiritual master, so that we can achieve the perfection of life. The Bhagavatam describes different personalities who, from different stages, discover the nature of the absolute truth. Obviously, the Bhagavatam is covering a vast range of subjects, a vast range of personalities. So it takes the essence of the lesson that can be learned from different personalities who experience different situations, different calamities, different shortfallings, different perspectives on the absolute truth, and how by the intervention of a bona fide spiritual master, and then submissive hearing, and then rendering service, they can achieve the highest perfection of life. The perfection begins by understanding who we actually are. And before we can understand Krishna, we need to understand ourselves. But those two processes, they're simultaneous. Just like when the sun rises, we're in the dark, we're bewildered, we can bump into things, but as the sun comes up, as the light manifests, then we can see ourselves and we can see our surroundings. But simultaneously, one sees the sun and one sees oneself. So simultaneously, by understanding the nature of oneself, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we have the same quality as Krishna in minute quantity. By examining and understanding our spiritual nature, we can appreciate the nature of the Supreme. Just like if you want to analyze the sea, the ocean, you don't have to take everything. You can take a sample. You can take a drop of the seawater because it contains the same constituents as the total sea. So the living entity, being spiritual by nature, has the qualities of the Supreme in minute quantity, up to 78% of the qualities of the Supreme. So wherever we start from, we can be spiritually self-realized. Whether we start in our Krishna consciousness, we can get a glimpse of the nature of the Supreme. Then, so that's perfection. That's perfection. To understand we're not the body, we're a spirit soul. This is the beginning. It's rudimentary knowledge. We hear about it, But to actually realize that and to exist on that platform is a high level of spiritual realization. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is available, it's accessible, it's dealt with by many transcendentalists, different spiritual adherents. The Vaishnavas, they have access to a higher aspect of that truth. Sorry, a little bit cloudy after travelling. Nitya Krishna Das. How does that start? Jivera Swarupoi. Nitya Krishna Das. The constitutional nature of the living entity, that's spirit soul, not the body. The body is conditioned, it comes from who knows where, from so many different backgrounds, so many different parts, so many different influences. But the spirit soul, this is rock solid, we can have clear information. The spirit soul, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Nitya Krishna Das. That spiritual by nature and constitutionally the servant. We can have confidence, we can have faith that all the questions, all the doubts that we have can be cleared up by situating ourselves and functioning on that elementary truth. I'm a servant. I'm a servant. Because the contrary, the opposite position is what absorbs the minds of most of the population of the material world, that I am the master. Aham mameti. I am matter. And then we're not just insignificant matter, we're big matter, we're important matter, we're powerful matter. We have a situation in this world which is noteworthy, which is to be regarded with awe and reverence. 16th chapter. I am powerful. How does that verse go? The verse in the 16th chapter where the demon starts to describe that
should I recite it?
You got it?
You can maybe. It's 16, 13 to 15.
Aha, okay. Let's hear it. Can you recite it?
English or?
English.
The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance.
And the Sanskrit I was looking for is Ishvaro Ham Aham Bodhi. I'm the controller. Ishvara. I'm the enjoyer. So this is the linchpin. The linchpin, where the carriage of the train is connected to the engine. There's two little links, but then, so those things don't come apart. There's a linchpin, a locking pin. So the linchpin, the ahankara, the knot, the connection between matter and spirit is I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer. And to become free from that contaminated consciousness, then we just have to unlock that principle. For the Vaishnava, it's simple. We just accept the correct principle. False ego is transformed into real ego. So Prabhupada in the Nectar of Instruction, he describes that in the foreword, that Krishna consciousness is easy. It's just a matter of switching on the light. by flicking one switch, by flicking on the light from ignorance to darkness, from ignorance to light. There's another verse. Tamasya Jyoti Marga Maha. Come out of the darkness into the light. So the darkness is representative of the ignorance, that we think that we are the controller and the enjoyer. And people may ask, okay, who thinks that they are the supreme controller? We have one volunteer to admit honestly that it doesn't manifest as the supreme. People, they're a little bit generous. They say nobody's walking around thinking that I'm God. But in subtle ways, in subtle manifestations, that mistaken identity is present within our realm. That just like now, water, I can drink water. Water is going to satisfy my thirst. All glories to water. Thank you for serving me. Lowest awareness of water. Water is there to serve us. Prabhupada, he says in Rasoham, Rasokunteya, that water, the initial appreciation of water, Krishna says, I am the taste of water. So this is the beginning of transient realization, getting off that gross material level. Okay, water here, we can waste it, we can splash around it, it will cool us down. It's for me, I'm the enjoyer. I will take advantage of it. That's demoniac. Turn on the water, who cares, it's all flushing down the drain. It makes a nice sound while I'm brushing my teeth. It's fun, it's cool, but it's not my water. I'm not the controller of it. It's Krishna's energy. We're wasting Krishna's allotment to us of our quota of his energy. So therefore we get a reaction. What's the reaction for wasting water? Water bills. That's very close and near to hand. In the next life, you'll take birth as a lizard in the desert. They're very dry. Craggy skin and a tongue which is pain or it's fierce. So the next realization above is that, okay, Krishna is the taste of water. This is Krishna present in his form of water. So that's on the level of Brahman realization. That the energy, the all-pervasive energy of the Lord is here. It's not just dull matter, it's spiritual. So the taste of water is a representation of that reality. So the Transcendentalists, they think this is wonderful. That here is the taste of water, I can experience the Supreme by tasting the water. And then they screw their brains to understand, well, you tasted sweet today, a little bit salty. The Supreme is wonderful, he manifests in different forms. Prabhupada in his purport there, he describes that the devotional realization from Brahman to Paramatma and then to Bhagavan realization is that Krishna is so merciful, he provides this water to satisfy our thirst. So thank you, Krishna, for allowing me to have access to the water, to use it in your service so that I can continue to function and my mind will be clear, everything will work, and I can then go on with my main business, which is to serve you. Just like yoga, austerities, all these different means of achieving Krishna, that's the end goal, to achieve Krishna. In the intermediate phase, they help to satisfy material needs. Yoga is designed in such a way that we perform yama, niyama. We assess our thoughts and our ideas, and we reject those things which are unfavourable, we accept things favourable, and we start to put things into practice. We're not angry, we're peaceful, we have dealt with a lot of the dilemmas that are preventing us from being in touch with Krishna. And then we sit, we practice pranayama, we get our breathing regulated, pratyahara, we give up unnecessary things at the time. Then we start to meditate. And first we're meditating on how to stay in this position because it's painful, but then after some time it becomes a little bit more natural, and we could, if we wanted to, remain in that yogic posture for 2 hours, 2 hours 15 minutes. That's considered the goal, that we can stay in that position without being disturbed. And then without being disturbed, then above that, beyond that, then there's dhyana and then samadhi. That our focus, our meditation is fixed, but if we can focus for so many hours, then that's quite a decent concentration. And then we can remain fixed. We've physically forced ourselves to understand that I'm not the body, the aches and the pains in the body, the things which are driving me nuts most of my waking existence, and even in my sleeping existence, the machinations of the mind, the pains, the pushings of the body. Those things have abated, and I can then transfer my thoughts from the body to the spirit. And then when that becomes fixed and natural, then samadhi not only means fixed concentration, but means, or a side effect of samadhi is that we feel blissful. Samadhi is often, the connotation of samadhi is bliss. It used to be a catchphrase, work now, samadhi later. Some people used to say samadhi now, samadhi later. But both of them are relevant. The work now can be samadhi because it's spiritual activity. It's bhakti yoga, vaidhi bhakti. Vaidhi bhakti, they're spiritual rules and regulations which help to assist us in getting to that stage of raganuga bhakti, spontaneous attachment and love and dealing with Krishna, this experience of Krishna face to face. So within the realm of realization, beginning from I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul, I'm a servant of Krishna, up to the stage of, yes, what is my perfected service to Krishna? Within that realm, all of those are considered perfect. All of those realizations are considered perfect. That's the perfection of spiritual education. But there are some, I don't know the legal terms, there's some conditions, there are some fine print, there are some qualifying factors that we have to get the blessings of the Supreme Personality of God. We have to get the blessings of Krishna, this verse, Tashi Krishna Namadi. You cannot see with your dull material senses, you cannot appreciate. But when those senses have been purified, when they become transcendental by being engaged in Krishna's service, then he reveals. Krishna reveals himself to us. He's revealing all the time. The next door neighbour to the soul is the intelligence. So through the intelligence, the human being is blessed with superior intelligence, the ability to see and to discriminate, to assess what is this situation in front of me. Yes, this is related to this. I can then understand it's different from me, but I understand it's the principle of how it's supposed to be utilised in Krishna's service. So that intelligence, to be able to see how things are able to be used in Krishna's service, that's a gift of the human form of life. But then, so human beings, we can understand, are a higher living entity than the massive living entities. They're able to reason, they're able to discriminate, they're able to think, and they're able to use different facilities in Krishna's service. So then that service becomes more perfect by understanding more clearly what is the reality. Because our dull material senses will not give us access. They're limited. The mantra. How does the mantra work? The mantra is a vibration of material syllables. But those mantras, it is said, can connect us with a higher reality. The spiritual essence of a thing can be encapsulated in a mantra. The bij mantra, the seed mantra. So the mechanics of that process is that the spiritual chit potency enters in and empowers, gives us access to the higher realms of those sounds, those syllables, those mantras. This is Krishna's higher intervention. In order to maintain the whole material universe, then that's done by his external energy, who is guided by Mahamaya. So this doesn't take much energy, it doesn't give much realization. But when Mahamaya is transformed into Yogamaya by engaging in service, by becoming spiritually saturated, then Yogamaya has a different way of revealing reality, how things are connected with Krishna, how to serve Krishna, how to understand Krishna, how to deal with Krishna, how to see Krishna face to face. So this is the goal of our activities. This is the goal of understanding, the goal of learning, the goal of austerities, to get to that point of understanding Krishna face to face. And the mechanics in between, then they become more refined, and we become more comfortable with them by starting from wherever we are at, and then following in the association of advanced devotees who have heard from their self-realized spiritual master about what is the goal and the means to achieve that. So, does anybody have any questions?
You mentioned something about that the chit potency enters. Can you elaborate a little on that? Is it that Mahamaya it turns to Yogamaya? That's the same thing, but the chit potency enters? Or how is that?
The principle is definitely functioning there, Mahamaya and Yogamaya. When we talk about chit potency, it's in the realm of shaktis and potencies. The external energy, the tatastha shakti, the marginal energy, and then the internal potency. So tatastha shakti, the marginal potency, has the ability to choose. And by surrendering to and having access to the chit potency, then we are enveloped, or we are immersed, we're dealing with that energy. A transcendental light goes on. So Mahamaya, Yogamaya, they're the same person. It's just whether we're approaching them in the office or whether we're approaching them in their higher function. We have access to those things. It's just a change of consciousness. When we talk about enter into, we got the question the other day, it said that the living entities are created by the Supreme. But the scripture states that we are eternally part and parcels. So the concept of creation is just for helping us to think about our source. We trace back, okay, who's my father, who's his father? So there's originally a source. But it doesn't have to be through a linear process, discovering that. It can be through a realization. There's the ascending process and the descending process. Krishna can reveal, and suddenly we're conscious of things like that. So the chit potency enters into where we just, through our service and sacrifice, the nature of the spiritual energy becomes manifest. And if we want to explain to somebody how, just by syllables, just by doing simple activities, washing the pots, offering food stuff, how that can make us into a self-realized soul, then the mechanics can be described through the aspect of the chit potency.